You don't have to live with pain or chronic neuro issues any longer. In this podcast, you will learn how to stabilize your brain, body, and biochemistry for the rest of your life. I'm Dr. Teams, and this is the NeuroRESET Podcast. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the NeuroRESET Podcast. I'm Dr. Teams, and we have a couple special guests today. We are going to be exploring FND, or functional neurological disorder, right? You guys can tell me all about that. It's you can feel free to share as much as you'd like or as little as you'd like. But I know there's other people out there dealing with the same stuff, and I think your experience can really help them overcome some really tough things. And so we've got Nikki and Caroline here. Welcome, you two.
Thanks. Hi. Happy to be here.
Is this your first podcast?
Yes.
Oh, well, you'll be a pro by the end of it, I promise you. So tell me a little bit of the backstory, kind of what that whole FND, how it presents or how it presented with you, and really kind of what your understanding of that diagnosis is.
Well, I'd never heard of it until October when I ended up in hospital.
How'd you end up in the hospital? What was going on?
It was kind of hard to describe. It was a really weird experience. I had some really strange numbness, tingling, weakness, kind of like I was having a seizure, but I knew what was going on, and my arms and my legs wouldn't work. And I kind of collapsed, scared everyone, rushed me to the hospital. And by the time I got there, I felt like I was in a really long, dark tunnel. I kind of knew what was going on, but not really. The first 3 days were like that for me. I don't really remember. My body was doing things that I wasn't making it do. It wouldn't do the things I wanted it to do. I felt kind of trapped inside. It was scary.
So it kind of had a mind of its own?
It really did.
Yeah. Well, that I'm sure is very scary. I know a lot of people with that type of diagnosis is very much like you described. A lot of people deal with like balance issues or like just movement issues when you're trying to just go from here to the car and it's taking you in every which direction, right? You learn to have a little fun with it. It's your dancing that you call it, but at the same time, things change and they can change pretty quick for you, right?
They did. When my mom came to the hospital to see me, I think it was pretty scary.
You may not remember it, right?
I don't remember a whole lot, but I remember she looked scared.
Yeah. What did you remember about that?
It always makes me emotional, so you have to bear with me.
We've got Kleenex strategically placed all around the office.
I
for these
appreciate
reasons.
that. I got a call from her husband, and I immediately jumped on a plane, flew out to Oregon. And when I first went in there, everything was moving. Her whole body was moving. Her arms were jerking, her legs, her head, and she had zero control over it. We both burst into tears because that's what you do.
Yeah.
And I stayed up there for 5 days while they tested her for literally everything, from Lyme disease to epilepsy. I mean, there wasn't anything they missed. And every single test came back normal. And then it got to the end of the 5 days, and they said, well, we don't know what it is, so we're going to send you home. And I said some choice words about maybe you're not. You haven't given her answers. You can't send her home like this. She couldn't walk unassisted. She could barely stand. There was one tough moment for me when they sent in a physical therapist to see if she could get out of bed. I actually had to leave the room because I didn't want her to see me cry, but I completely broke down. Her body was tilting side to side. Her legs weren't strong. She was trying to be positive and laugh it off, which just made it worse for me because it was awful for me.
Yeah.
I felt like a puppet on a string.
I was scared. She had her
That's what it looks like. When it kind of goes and you're wow. That's totally exactly it. That's a really good visual.
She is fiercely independent. She is the ultimate everybody's fixer. Even when people don't ask, Nikki will jump in and say, "Let me help you with that. Let me handle that for you." And now she was completely at the mercy of her own mind and her own body, and she couldn't control any of it. And that was awful to watch. I thought I was being a great mom, because I was being so proud of her, because she was so strong and so independent and so ready to do for everybody, until I realized the only person she wasn't doing anything for was herself. And that's when her problems started.
Yeah.
So
that's something that we tend to see, like what we kind of talk about it as the caretakers, right? The caretakers are the ones that typically get it just as bad as the patient, and sometimes worse. And, you know, knowing some of your history with your kiddos, we've got some, call it special needs. Pull that just a little bit closer to you when you're leaning.
Yes, sir.
There you go. You know, you've got a special needs kiddo. It takes a lot of attention, a lot of energy, a lot of patience, a lot of stress, right? And other things, right? We've had a history of, we've just had a long history, right? A lot of things going on. They involve trauma too, right? And at the same time, you're still focusing outward, taking care of everybody, and that tends to burn the candle at both ends a little bit. Right?
Even at work, I'm a CNA.
Yeah, and so it's you're a caretaker by career, but also by default.
Right.
Right. And so, what happens when that caretaker can't take care of people? Does it make the job harder?
Very.
Yeah.
It's very strange to be the patient as well. Quite honestly, I don't think I've ever been quite as scared as I was in that hospital room.
she actually said something to me the other day, about halfway through her treatment with you. We were sitting in the car, and I have said this to her, and she has not listened. I have said to her multiple times, shocking, right?
Yeah.
I have said to her multiple times, at some point you really need to take care of yourself, because you really love to take care of other people and you thrive on that, but you're not going to be able to sustain this.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
And she would say, I don't have time for that with Xander and with my other kids and with my life and my job. I just don't have time to worry about me. I'll worry about me later. And we were in the car.
Yeah.
And we were in the car, and she said, I get it. And I was like, get what? I'm driving
Just
along.
I get it.
Not
Yeah.
paying attention. And she's like, I get it. I said, what are you talking about? And she said, I get it. I need to put me first. And I almost burst into tears driving down the road, because it was such a huge moment. Because her mind, all of these things she was doing that she thought was so good, all these things that she was doing to help everybody else, as she calls it, her love language, is solving other people's problems, were seriously detrimental to her with her past traumas, with everything she's dealt with in her childhood, all the way through her life, all the things that made her the fixer.
Right. And it's a double-edged sword, being somebody who loves, especially if that's your love language. Let me take care of it.
Very much.
Right. You sit back. Let me take care of it.
Yep.
And the way that it is a double-edged sword, and we've had I think it was episode 2, we had a couple of parents in here with a special needs baby, and basically the kiddo doesn't sleep, and so he's going all the time. They don't get any sleep. They're stressed out. They don't have any date nights. They don't have. It's just over and over. Doctor's appointments. Just so much stress is going on with his case that their health started to falter.
It's all consuming.
Yeah, it is. And so, they were referred to me just like you guys were referred to me. And you're like, hey, do you treat FND? And the answer is kind of like no. But we've got to figure out what's going on, and that we work with, right? It's pretty clear that we know what we're doing, right? And
it is.
That eye test you did when she got here was insane to me.
Yeah.
It was shocking that you could learn so much from watching just her retinal behavior.
Just the eyes.
It's incredible. I couldn't believe it. And her reaction to what you were saying, she got it when you said, oh, so when this was happening, this is what was going through your head, or this is what you were doing. And she just kept going, yeah. And she was so confused by that, because I'm a huge skeptic. I am. I'm a massive skeptic. When people say things like therapy, and I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. I just am.
When she came to me with a proposal of coming to see you, I was shocked, first of all, because this is not something that I would think she would have brought to the table. So that made me.
I was desperate.
That made me pay attention.
Yeah.
Because it's not her usual MO. And when we talked on the phone, the way that you were able to understand what I was saying without me having to explain it, and for you to respond in kind without and describing to me what I was feeling without me telling you, made me know I was going to be in the right place, because no one understood what I was feeling inside and what I was going through, and I couldn't find the words to explain it to any doctor to try to help. They just didn't get it. They're like, your brain's broken. It's not communicating. And then sent me out the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually called her right after that first conversation, and I said, wow, you sound different. And she's like, I just had the best conversation. She said she finally had hope.
Yes.
I was in a tailspin at the time because I was watching her depression sink further and further. And more than the physical aspect, it was the emotional aspect. And all I knew was she didn't deserve it, and I needed to find answers. I just got really lucky because I knew people who could help guide me to you and to this place. But I was terrified because I could hear her on the phone, and she was becoming more and more despondent, saying things like, this can't be my life. This can't be it. It's not good enough.
The area that I lived in, there weren't really even any options. They were trying to refer me to Portland, and they weren't even taking clients with my diagnosis. Yeah. They said, there's not really much we can do for you.
And how cool is that? A doctor says, yep, this is what it is. Yeah, we can't do anything about it. Have a great day. And what do you do with that information?
We call that the gray area in the world of diagnostics, right? You know, you've got, say, if you've got a 0 to 100%, that 85, 90 to 100% is like the healthy crew. Mm-hmm. Down here where you've got diagnoses, like actual diagnosable, you check off all the boxes, right, which you did.
Yeah.
You've got your diagnosis here. Usually there's a medication that they can give or surgery that they can do for you. Everything else falls in between. When it comes to FND, it's like the lower 50%. So like you were probably down in that 60% function, but like holding on by a thread thing, just taking care of everybody, and then everything broke.
Yeah.
And so you ended up in that gray area, but this box, they have so many boxes to check because it's so random and weird that you're like, this is the box you fit in the best, right? And so when we as chiropractic neurologists understand the function of the neurological system, right? When the frontal lobe's involved, you get these symptoms. When the backside of the brain is involved, you get these symptoms. When you have this, and it's, you know, like these pathways indicate what's supposed to happen. And when it's not working, this is what you get, right? And so by you describing the symptoms that you were experiencing, we were able to plug in and just check off the parts of the brain that you were describing. Mm-hmm. So that's where I really was able to say, hey, you might feel this, but also X, Y, Z. And you're like, yes. And that's where, you know, we might talk about focus attention issues. We might talk about anxiety, depression. We might talk all the things that we had kind of touched on. But just that functional neurological approach is exactly what you were describing to everybody. But because they didn't have our type of training, they didn't know what to do with it.
Exactly.
And so I am very grateful that I chose to do what I did and ended up working with the types of patients that I have through the years to allow me to work with you this week and get a fairly decent outcome so far.
I'm so grateful.
We didn't come here looking for a fix. We knew that's not what we were looking for. I told her, let's start with hope. You've got hope.
What were you expecting?
I was expecting someone. I knew, I'm no doctor, I knew a lot of what was happening to her was all right here. I knew it was in her head, and I knew it had something, I didn't know what, but I knew it had something to do with her thoughts and her struggles and the traumas I know she's been through, the life she's had to live. She actually described it as a novella because nobody would ever believe this many things had happened to one person. And I said to her, if we go, and first of all, the first thing you got somebody who understood what you were saying, somebody who told you what was happening, and you could just agree. And that was amazing, because that was the very first time she'd had that. Then you had hope. Hope that if someone understands, maybe they can help make it different. And I told her, the best we can hope for is you're going to go there, you're going to get some tools, you're going to get some answers, and you're going to get something that you can use yourself. We're under no illusion. I don't think either of us that she's ever going to just suddenly be completely well one day and it's all going to be gone.
And this is all talking before you guys
Yeah,
came
this
in,
is before
right?
we got here.
Yeah.
We did not assume that she was going to come in here, spend a few weeks with you, and then walk out the door healthy as can be.
Different person.
And we never expected that. We expected a path
And
that
although
she could walk.
it's obvious that I still have work to do, I'm already a different person.
That's so cool. Day one, watching you walk in here, or I guess try to walk in here, like you're like the puppet master.
I was a
kind of
puppet on a
thing.
string.
And the whole history, you were just moving and going, and I would have you do this or that, and it would, like, I have you think about something or ask you a question that might have been stressful, and all of a sudden everything starts going again.
Constant movement. I couldn't sit still.
Like, people are always asking us, hey, do you treat this? Do you treat that? Do you treat this? Do you treat that? As a chiropractor, I don't treat a lot of things that are medical diagnoses, right? I technically treat the spine and the nervous system. But luckily, I had a background in personal training. And so the way that I describe this is I'm a personal trainer for your brain. Like, that assessment was basically looking for all the weak areas. And when I see those weak areas, I know what the symptoms you're typically going to have with fairly good accuracy, right?
I would say you were pretty spot on.
And then we say, hey, these are the exercises that are going to strengthen that part of the brain and this part of the brain and that part of the brain, but also all those parts together, right? Everything that was happening in you, we'll just keep it simple. It's more complex than this, right? But
Definitely.
It was essentially just a massive stress response. So what happens when your brain stresses out, so you have trauma, you have injuries, you have infections, whatever it may be over the years, it impacts the nervous system. The nervous system immediately goes into a fight or flight response to try to help you survive, right? And so that survival instinct is designed to get you out of dodge or make you freeze and shut down and like cover up, like you're being attacked by a bear or running from a bear, right? And so our bodies are designed to do that naturally when we're actually running, fighting, or freezing. But when we are in that state of mind, so to speak, we're in that reaction phase, but we're like sitting at a desk doing notes. Or we're sitting down watching TV with our kid. Or you're in the car driving to the store, but your stress response is so heavy, all of your vessels are going to constrict. And usually when we run, they open back up because of these exhaust fumes of our muscles moving. And so we get all this blood flow to all the right places. Well, when you're sitting there or sitting down or working and you're not having that physical response to match the stress response, everything constricts and it stays constricted. When it doesn't dilate again, we lose blood flow to the areas that we need. And it's basically like your brain. When you start moving, it's that part of the brain saying, I need air.
Fish out of water.
And so our job is kind of like a twofold thing to, number one, just identify the weak areas. Then we look at through the pathways, right? We evaluate the pathways. Then we look at and try to understand how that the integration is going. We already knew it was off because your system's moving all over the place, right? Mm-hmm. And then we get to the tolerance side of things. How much can you tolerate before your brain says no? Right? You were just telling a story about last night, I think, where she's like, just
bouncing
bopping
all
around,
over the house.
and then you hit a wall. You're like, okay, I'm going to bed, and everything was good.
Yeah,
right?
She's on the floor playing with a toddler, and then suddenly she stands up and says, "I'm going to bed now." And I went, "Okay." And I went into the room a little bit later. I'm like, "Are you okay?" Mm-hmm. I just wanted to make sure she wasn't upset about something, and she said, "No, I'm just tired. I'm going to sleep now." And I was like, "Okay, bye then." And I left the room, but it was so fast a movement.
Yeah.
But she, amazing things have happened in the last 2 weeks. I can't even put it into words, but I do have a really difficult question for you. Awkward, maybe.
Okay.
When we walked in that first day a couple of weeks ago, and you met us, and you met my daughter, mm-hmm. and you saw what she was going through, what was your confidence level that you could make it different?
After the history, I was pretty confident that we could do some really cool work.
Really?
After our first phone call. Yeah.
Did you think I'd be where I am today already?
I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. The thing that I know is I won't be able to sleep if I don't try. That's the one thing. So
well, you gave me the confidence, so.
The thing is, you said a couple of times, if you don't do the work, you're not going to get the results. And even being skeptics, Nikki has said to me multiple times in the last 2 weeks, I don't understand it. I don't know if I believe it. I'm not sure if I bought in all the way, but you know what? It's working, and I'm here for it. I'm going to keep doing it. Whatever they tell me to do, I'm just going to do it.
Let me just tell you, cutting the caffeine after 3 was hard.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I believe it.
Caffeine was a tough one.
I believe it. But
I bought her decaf tea. She was all right.
That's, you know what, that's a good step in the right direction. But, when we're looking at a system that is so stressed out and you feed it more coffee, right? We don't have the energy anymore because we've wasted it on trying to survive.
Yes.
And then we caffeinate more and tax that fight or flight system more. What do we think is going to happen, right? How many people do we know out there that are probably hanging on by a thread, that are just like you?
Oh, I'm sure.
That have dealt with traumas, that are still taking care of everybody, that don't know how to calm down, and don't even realize that something as simple as learning how to calm down can be such a big impact.
Who knew breathing could be
right?
so impactful?
So breathing is huge. And it's the kind of what we do. There's so many different types out there that you can do. You can choose the one that even feels better, right? There's so many. And so our approach with you was, one, realizing how cranked your system was. You were just ramped the hell up. And so we had to calm you down. So we can't, it's very difficult for us to rewire everything when you're so ramped up. So my job starts in that first conversation was, one, if I feel that your history is something that we can work with, then I will tell you straight up. And I think I was able to do that.
Yeah.
I said, let's give it a shot.
Right.
Right?
Nothing to lose.
And
can't make it worse.
I mean,
Well, like we said earlier, when you get a diagnosis, but there's nothing we can really do about it, you are willing to go to the ends of the earth, and you're willing to do whatever it takes to make things different. And she was absolutely willing to give it a shot. I called her and said, okay, you're getting on a plane. Tickets are booked. This is what you're doing. And she was like, oh.
Okay.
And she did say at first, she did say to me, well, maybe we should wait till summer. I was like, yeah, that's not an option. Deal's going to be off the table in the summer. You're coming now.
Yeah.
We're doing this because
And
I was
so glad that I did.
I was watching her crash and burn, and I knew that over that time it was going to get worse. And it was because these doctors had told her, we've diagnosed you. Unfortunately, we don't know enough about this. We're not educated enough in this to actually do anything about it. But hey, cool, you have a diagnosis. Here's 14 different medications you can take to treat the symptoms.
mostly psych meds.
All to treat the symptoms.
Right?
And movement medications.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
In some cases, until you have this potential opportunity, it might be the only thing that keeps you in one piece, So, they're doing their best, and that's fine.
Right.
Right? We just have a different set of tools that we are able to use that, can certainly provide a different kind of outcome.
I couldn't leave my house without medication before.
She couldn't leave her house without people.
Also true. I couldn't drive.
couldn't
I
do
couldn't
anything.
anything. I don't know that I can yet, but I'm feeling confident that I can go out and do things and
It's horrific to
be
be
in the
afraid
world
to walk
again.
out the front door. That's a horrible place to be.
So what did you see and what did you feel? And this is kind of back and forth. You guys can kind of tag team this. Day 1, day 2, day 3. I think we had 3 days the first week, and then we're at 3 days in for the second week out of 4. And so we're going to have a total of 7 days working together. And what was your experience like here with going through this stuff?
I didn't know what to expect the first day, so we did some testing and evaluating, and that's where I felt like I was in the right place because you were so precise at identifying what was going on with me by telling us the story from my eyes, and that made me feel very confident that there was something you were going to be able to do for me. I just wasn't sure what that was going to be yet. And then we came in day 2, and I'm working on exercises, and it was taxing in a way, but I didn't feel it until later.
Yeah.
And some of my movement, I was struggling that day a little bit. I didn't take any of my medications. I really wanted to see what was going to happen without them. I wanted to really feel it. I didn't want anything impeding me. And I felt like I really made some improvements because I didn't need them. By day 3, I felt stronger. I felt more confident. I felt like I was moving forward. I could walk comfortably. I didn't feel unsteady.
So no more puppet master at that point?
I didn't feel like that at all. I felt like I walked like a regular person again. And it was like everyone was looking at me when I was walking. And I did feel like that for a while.
Is this what normal walking feels like?
Right.
Well, the day after, the first day she came, the next morning we were getting ready to leave the house.
Ooh,
and
I remember.
Nikki has these episodes where she will suddenly get super foggy, and then she just collapses and hits the ground. And it's just like everything's suddenly out of her, and she just falls, and there's no stopping it. The week before she came, she had a few episodes where that happened. One of them, she actually couldn't hear for a few seconds before she passed out, almost passed out, and just hit the floor in her own kitchen. On the second day, all she had learned from you so far was the breathing exercises. And she's standing in the kitchen, and she put her arms out, and she was teetering back and forth, and she closed her eyes. And I was like, just breathe. And I'm standing across the counter like, do I run? What do I do? And she breathed the breathing exercises you taught her, and she managed to pull herself out of it.
That's right.
And I said to her then, and that was the first time she'd known how to do that, and just with the breathing. I actually tried the breathing on Thursday because I was leaving work, and I had a pounding headache because work will do that. And I was like, I'm going to give it a go. What's the worst that could happen?
Right.
And I tried breathing, and it actually calmed my headache. And I was like, okay, maybe it's not all hooey. Maybe there's something to it.
Maybe there's something to this.
Maybe.
Guy, right? Well,
I'm
cool.
still not all the way sold, but no,
Right.
I'm kidding.
Okay, so by day 3, I know we were having a pretty good Thursday.
Yeah.
Right?
I had an
remember
amazing
you
Thursday.
had an
Yeah.
amazing Thursday, an amazing Friday, I believe.
did.
Yeah.
Then we dealt with a stressor over the weekend.
Yeah.
I
right?
did.
We had some family stuff go on. Daughter had a migraine. You got a phone call. You were like, I want to go home, but I can't. I'm here. And, like, obviously we know that at the time, like, family emotional stressors are probably one of the bigger ones, bigger triggers.
Definitely.
And it might have triggered you some, but it didn't trigger you like it did before, right?
No, I didn't have any collapsing or any complete dysfunction. I definitely had a little bit of movement going on, but
A lot of fatigue.
I was really tired more
Yeah.
than anything.
Well, to stress out like that is fatiguing.
I did a lot of breathing.
In survival mode for 2 days straight, like Saturday, Sunday, trying to figure that out. You do the breathing, that helps calm it down. And then Monday wasn't a terrible day.
No, I came in really tired. The situation at home had resolved itself, so that had been relieved at least. And so I felt better. And then I got to work, and I felt good,
Yeah.
even though I was tired.
Yep.
It was a good day.
And let's see, today's Wednesday. Yesterday, you were like bouncing around the office like a fun, crazy person, just like
That is my normal
bopping.
personality.
Oh, I love it. And that,
She's exhausting. I'm the complete opposite. I'm super boring. I'm not an exhibitionist. We're complete opposites.
that is so much fun. Well, that's why we're having so much fun in here, because you and I
Yes.
are kind of
Well,
from the same cloth there.
Yes, I'm usually a very active person up until 6 years ago. And
Wait, this started when?
6 years ago,
This has been going on 6 years.
the underlying symptoms, it kind of came to a head when it all happened at the same time to the degree it did. But it was all happening in small doses individually, and no one had put it together yet, including me, realizing it was connected.
In October is when she was faced with a pretty catastrophic choice for her on an emotional level. And that was the day she broke, because it was an impossible decision. And that's the day she broke, because she just
It was a lot.
She didn't know what to do with the information.
And we find that a lot, right? When there's a point in time, it started on this day. Usually it's a trip to the hospital. I had somebody tell me this that I've been working with for a little while, just the other day. And, you know, they were like, oh, well, my trip to the hospital and getting my diagnosis from that MRI was a result of, like, a breakup.
Yeah.
So a massive stress response led to this breakdown that put somebody in the hospital, and the person's not been the same since, until we finally try to go through and rewire some of this and teach them what to do so that they can have these tools and take them on their own, just like you're going to have all the tools to take with you now, right? So, all right, we're like roughly a weekend. We've got another day left. We've actually got the last half of today and then some tomorrow. I might go easy on you today. If
Don't do that.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Just needed permission. But, you know, day one, you came wobbling in here like a puppet. And as of yesterday, we have you exercising. We have you standing, walking. You're dancing. You're jumping, literally jumping up off the table.
I am.
She came home last night, and I went, "You're standing up straight."
I feel like I can do
And
cartwheels and
she's
counters.
like, and she looked at me and she goes, "Yeah." When I tell you I haven't seen her stand up straight in years, it's not an exaggeration. I have given her grief. I've had to stop myself from giving her grief because I know it's a challenge for her. And I've had to force myself not to say, for God's sake, would you just stand up straight, put your shoulders back, you know, and do the whole mom thing.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing the mom thing because I'm reminding her to do a homework every day.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like it's back in high school. The irony is this one, I never had to ask her to do homework because she's an overachiever, which is how she got here.
Yep.
But I never had to ask her, and now I'm having to nag her. Did you do your homework? Did you do your breathing exercises?
my homework.
Did you watch your videos? She's like, God, Mom, I'm a grown adult. Yeah, I know. I don't care.
So, you know,
I'm ready to go back and coach cheer again.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited. We'll get a good video of that. You'll have to plug it to this. So, how you feeling now? A week in, what's different?
I just feel stronger and more confident in the process, in myself. I mean, I'm doing it. I can see that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It still has moments, and when I get tired and fatigued, it's harder. But I know that I still have work to do. I know it's not, you know, one and done. But
It could be.
I feel amazing.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful to have been here and had this experience.
Well, we are
Don't
grateful.
cry. We did so good.
I mean, careful. We got enough in here for me
I
as
just-
well. Anybody else?
I might take one just
I
in
am
case.
excited to see my 8-year-old because he said to me about a month or two ago, I miss playing with you, Mom. I miss doing things with you. Because it had reached the point where I was so unstable, I couldn't even kick a soccer ball with him anymore. And that's not me. I'm the mom who coaches soccer, not the one who sits on the sidelines. And I'm going home, and I can play with my little boy again, and that means the world to me. And I'm just going to keep moving forward. Sky's the limit at this point.
Yep.
I would say, this might make me cry.
We got plenty of Kleenex.
I love it.
Well, usually, you know, I'm a crier anyway. But I know it's shocking. I don't seem like I would be. I would say, without a doubt, and I swear I'm not being paid to say this, this is hands down, and I thought about this long and hard, the absolute best investment I've ever made in my family.
Thanks,
I feel pretty confident about that. It's been amazing. My kid gets her life back, and that means everything. Sorry. See, I'm an ugly crier. It's why I don't like to do it.
It's okay. We can just cut right there.
I mean, who
That
knew,
was,
right?
You know, I'm grateful. I'm grateful as we're kind of going around the table here, right? I'm just grateful that, you know, the stars aligned. Somebody knew somebody who knew somebody who connected us, and we were able to connect and have a conversation. And
Jess
you know,
has been amazing this week.
Yeah.
She's just been, On every level, incredible. So invested from the moment I made the call to her, she sent the text to you, and you said, "Let's get her on the phone. Let's have a conversation." I mean,
She's been my cheerleader.
everything.
I mean, you know what's kind of crazy is the connection of people that made this happen started probably like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I worked with Brittany
Yep.
down in Chandler.
Yep.
Jess worked with Brittany at the new office for a little bit.
I didn't
and
even
then
know.
she
I didn't even
started
know
over
she
here.
was working here. I called Brittany because Brittany works with Dr. Bohr, who does pediatric. Similar thing with pediatrics, and I said, I know that Dr. Bohr does pediatric, but any ideas? What can we do? Here's what we're dealing with. So Britt talked about Dr. Bohr. Dr. Bohr said, you need to go see Dr. Teams. It's just got to happen. That's the guy you want to talk to. It's different for me. I deal with pediatric. I'm not sure I can be super support, but I think this is the guy. So then Brittany called and told me that, and she said, yeah, Jess works there now. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, yeah, Jess works there with Dr. Teams now. I was like, I got you. Hang it up. And I immediately picked up the phone and called Jess, and she
Small
was
world.
instantly engaged. She actually said something really cool to me. I've known Brittany and Jess for, God, 20 years.
Brittany was my wedding.
Since
love
they
it.
were, I met Brittany when she was 18. You know, she'd had her own things in her life, and she came into my life, and they actually call me mom. Brittany and Jess both call me their mom, and they call me to vent things.
Yeah.
And I said to Jess, I told Jess what I needed, and she was like, I'm all in. And then she said to me right before Nikki arrived, and I was like, I don't know how to thank you for this, for helping make this happen. And she said something really cool, and it made me cry, and I'm not going to cry now. But she said, you have always been so cool and so there for us. She goes, I cannot tell you how cool it is to be able to return the favor. And I just thought that was the nicest thing anyone had ever said to me. You know, you do things for other people, and you think, I'm doing it because it gives me joy. That's actually her problem. So
it's a good problem to have.
yeah,
but-
it's a good problem to have, but
Yeah.
a bad one. And yeah, I love doing stuff for people. I'm
Britt
happy
came
to
to
do
check
it.
up on me this weekend too.
Oh, awesome.
She did. And but yeah, it was just so cool that she said, you know, I get to return the favor to you. It never occurs to me there's a favor to return. So it was just really, really cool. So
Well, I'm extremely happy. I'm extremely hopeful, and I'm extremely excited to see how far you can take this and how quote unquote normal you can feel again. What I'm looking for when you guys leave is periodic updates with things like
definitely.
pictures, videos, showing all the things that you're accomplishing. You know, I just watching you run around the office, I'm like, she's got her groove back. Stella's back, right?
yeah.
Got her groove. And, you know, it took you a long time of habits to get you here. And so basically everything after this is going to be changing habits. And it's hard because it's consistent, but it's actually not so hard, right? It's like some of the things we've done, that book, you know, we read the book.
Twice.
She said she didn't
Overachiever,
feel like
right?
she said, I don't really feel like I absorbed it the
Well,
first
you
time.
were not feeling good that first day,
Yeah.
Yeah.
day or two, and then over the weekend, you're like, yeah, I can process this now, right? It's amazing what can happen when your brain's back online.
That's true.
Right.
Very true.
Let me see here.
Much better to take in the information and
For
retain
sure.
it.
And you know, like, yes, we did a lot of work here, but you also met with a colleague of mine, right?
yes.
Skip works with hypnotherapy. It's, you know, a form of therapy. we
Another
call it.
big hooey for me.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, what that allows, the reason I wanted you to meet with him, and I talked with you about this on that first phone call, right?
Yes.
I was like, I think part of your recovery is going to involve somebody getting in there real deep and helping you understand and how to process and how to basically resolve anything that you need to be able to do.
Yeah.
And so I was hoping to get you in twice over there. We got you in once, and I think you're going to see him one more time
I
before you
am.
On
leave.
Friday.
And so that type of combination for something like this is, I think, just like a 1-2 punch. And I like I said, I'm just so freaking excited to see, one, how far you've come, watch your confidence levels just increase, your smile come back. I can hear you as soon as you walk in now. You're not like quiet like a church mouse. You're like, woohoo! woo! Like, let's go party. I'm excited, ready to get back in action. And
Yes.
I just love it. That is music to my ears. So, like returning the favor, just you living life to the fullest is the best like favor for me. So.
Oh, she will. I know she will.
Don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, she's been.
Love it.
That's why she's wanted for a long time. And you're right, Skip. I am again super skeptical. The word hypnosis. I'm like, come on, really? That's That's something it's a circus act.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
We both cried over that one.
We did.
We left his office and we're both crying in the car.
It's short, sweet, to the point. It's not like what you would necessarily think with other therapists, we'll call it, right?
It's not like traditional talk therapy.
It's not at all. It's it's like, hey, okay, let me identify the problem. All right, here's the problem. Let's get to work. Here's what you're going to do. Here's your action plan. And then we'll dive in a little deeper next time.
Yeah.
For her particularly, because of her personality, talk therapy didn't work.
Totally.
She already knows the answers.
She's
the
too
problem
intelligent for it.
She didn't know how to implement the answers. That was the problem. She
was
knew
exactly
them.
it.
She could tell you and help you implement them. She couldn't do it for herself. Yeah. So this was absolutely the type of therapy she needed because conventional therapy isn't for her.
Yeah. And that was on day 3 after some of these things
that
had
was
already
Thursday.
happened. So the way I like doing it is strengthening the brain, and then we refer.
Yep.
And that's where it's like, okay, now I have a stronger mindset or brain that can now handle where we're going to go. Right. And so maybe at the end after all these days that you and I work together, it's going to be easier to tap
I'm
into some of
excited
those
to
more
see what
intense
happens
things.
Friday.
Yeah. And so,
And Skip was great too because
he's great. Yeah.
he said that he wasn't he was all booked up this next week, and we were like, well, she gets on a plane on Friday night. And he's like, wait, what time Friday night?
So
we told him,
in.
and he said, we're doing this. We are having another one-on-one. This is not an option. I'm going to make this work. He was really made you feel like he was invested too. And we felt that from everybody here. All your staff, you, Skip, everybody they're in it. You know, they're in it to win it. They're in the game. And that's been...
I feel like you're all our personal cheerleaders. It's been amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, it's so fun.
I don't know how I look at pom-poms, though.
Give it a go.
Go team.
We want you to try.
Well, guys, I do appreciate you sitting down and sharing this. I know we were trying to do it tomorrow, but we were already booked with another one and so another podcast. So I appreciate you sharing your story. I know you're going to connect with a lot of people out there, and you're going to give them hope that living with this FND stuff isn't like a sentence. No. There's things you can do. There's people who can guide you, and the world that you're used to doesn't have to be that way anymore.
She told me she just wanted to be her again. I said, no, you don't. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's how
we'll call it the new you.
Yeah,
the new and improved.
That's what I told her.
Right?
I said the new and improved Nikki, because that's how we got here. So going back to who you were is not the option.
Exactly.
And she knows she has a lot of work, but she's learned now that it's possible.
Even
and
regular life is work, right? It's just
it is.
You just have to focus on the right stuff, and that's what allows you to not go down the wrong pathway, right? And I talk about it like train tracks all the time, or like tall grass, having a trail in a tall grass. If we keep doing the same stuff, we're going to end up in the same place. But if I need to go over there, the more we walk through this grass over here, we're going to make a pathway, and then the grass is going to grow up over the old one. So we're going to develop a new habit. And that new habit is what's going to allow you to thrive instead of survive.
I told her last night, I told her, I said, I'm going to make her a poster for her wall, and it's going to say, everyone has bad days. You're not special. Because everybody does, and she's going to have them, but she's going to know how to deal with them, and she's going to have tools that she can try to help get her in a better place.
I did get a little dyswana on Saturday. I was feeling pretty down because...
But when you are in that, when you're that person who usually takes care of all the problems and you're not there, right? I think even your husband was out of town, so your daughter was all alone, and you're like...
It was, and I was feeling a little overwhelmed.
The other poster that you're going to put right next to that is breathe.
Right.
Yeah. And, breathing works a ton. If you feel like you're doing it and it's not helping yet, do more. Because we've got to be able to match or over breathe how intense whatever trigger is, right? If it's a small one, a little bit of breathing, like the headache.
Right.
You were able to do some breathing, and it knocked it out. Some people, that amount of breathing won't knock it out. And so they have to do more breathing to start to calm it down because it's such an intense trigger.
Right.
And so that's the thing that we really try to understand with the consultations, with the new patient exam, is understanding how intense this stuff really is for you so that we can tailor a perfectly customized program just for you.
I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Saturday, she was despondent. She was upset.
I was.
And she said the words, "I failed. I screwed it up." And I was like, okay, you read the book, Nikki. Come on.
She did. She
Right.
lectured me about positive, which is why I reread the book.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I
but,
said-
to put it in context, you're kicking yourself while you're down, which is probably an old habit. And all we had to do, luckily we had a chip on our shoulder that said, hey, let's change those words just a little bit.
Yeah.
And Britt came over and gave me a little pep talk.
Yep. Oh, she can give you a pep talk, all right.
She
Yes,
did good.
can.
Okay, so in terms of ending this podcast, I'm going to ask a couple questions. There are going to
Okay.
be some fun questions and maybe some weird ones, okay?
All right.
All right. After this, feeling as good as you want to feel, if you could just pick up and go for a week anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Anywhere in the world?
Just think solo trip.
Solo?
Solo trip.
Ooh. I'm going to the pyramids.
Okay, very cool. All right, the next one is where would you go with your family?
We're going to go to Hawaii. Xavier's begging. We're
Okay.
doing it.
Love it. Favorite food?
Oh. Pie.
Love it.
Yeah, not the favorite thing you can tolerate. That was
No,
another thing,
no,
by the way.
pie.
She had tolerance issues with certain foods because of the nausea this
Yep,
brought on.
yep.
Pie.
And all of this stuff is going to clear up as we continue.
Oh, she's
to
been
just
eating
strengthen.
like crazy all week long. She's been loving
true.
life.
I saw ribs earlier. I was like, holy freaking cow. I would like some ribs. I'm a huge ribs guy. Okay, in closing, let's say other people with FND hear this podcast. What would you tell them?
There is hope. You don't have to accept it. There are things that you can do.
What would be the action steps for them to take to start to resolve some of the issues they're dealing with?
To find someone who does what you do.
Okay.
To not give up hope. To find someone in the area who can treat it, who understands it.
Yeah.
Because telling you that it's as good as it gets, isn't okay. We don't have to live like this.
It's not okay. That's not okay.
No.
She did say she went on a lot of different websites and blogs
Like forums and stuff like
I
that.
did.
Forums, and
most
everybody
people-
was super despondent. And I told I'm going to encourage her, get on those same blogs and say, hey guys,
You can get bet that I will be doing that.
it can be different. I'm proof.
We've got
It
2
can
more
be
recliners
different.
now, right? So we can handle it.
Right.
Well, most people either don't know that there's treatment or they've done the traditional treatments, which was what they directed me towards. Speech, physical therapy, OT. And I'm like cognitively thinking, how is that helpful to me? And the therapists look at you and say, what do you want me to do to help you? Because they don't know either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to spread that word.
Love it. I love it. It just comes back down to like strengthening the brain, making it talk to each other, calming the system down, understanding what's causing it in the first place, right? And kind of moving some of those things in the opposite direction and just giving you the tools to continue on with and push as far as you
I
wanna
don't
go.
even think that explanation really is even in there. When you look up FND and the 2 well-known respected sites, it doesn't say anything about that. It talks about the communication between your brain and your body, but it says nothing about your nervous system and the interaction part of it. It's very much lacking in understanding.
And those are the experts, aren't they?
Right. Those are supposed to be the experts, and they've given you no tools.
Well, you're going to leave here like Tim the Toolman Taylor with all these neuro tools.
I am.
Right? Well, I thank you guys for taking the chance, giving us the chance to help. And, these types of weeks are the ones that just help me sleep better. So thanks for working so hard.
We would say the same to you for taking a chance on her and believing that you could make a difference. That's pretty cool.
And helping me believe I can make a
I
difference.
swear, I really feel like people are going to think we're getting paid for this or something because we're saying all these gushy things, and I wish I could just say it in a way that makes it sound more real. It just sounds kind of cheese, but it's not.
I almost wish we had taken a video when I came in.
Do you have any other videos? We can always share any of those.
I wonder if...
We could.
Did we take any from the hospital?
I didn't. Sean might have.
Let me ask my husband if he took any at the beginning. But just to show like how intense it was for me and how spazzy my entire body was.
Yeah.
Because it is.
What'd you call it? Your circly thing?
My dancing hands?
Yeah, your dancing hands.
I didn't want to scare my little one, so I called them my dancing hands when I returned home.
Yeah. Well, so the cool thing that I think it's pretty funny because you're already like planning to like joke your family, like prank your family. You come off the plane like all dancy, and then you just pop out of it and run to them. Like that was so cool to hear. I think I heard that from the other room, and that would be the best prank I could ever think of that you could play on them.
Yeah.
But
they've been calling all week long. How's she doing? Is she okay? How are you feeling?
And you're playing it off like.
And she is really downplaying.
I mean,
like, you're so mean.
It is freaking hilarious.
I did tell him I had a great day the other day, but me telling him I had a great day,
to them means something different.
Right, could mean anything compared to.
She hasn't really been elaborating on what that means.
Right, what does that mean? What does a great day look like?
Leaving it open
I'm
for
not having
conjecture.
movements. Okay, that's a great day. Or I'm doing cheers.
What's a great day now?
Right? What does it look like
now?
now?
Tell everybody what it looks like now.
I mean, I haven't been able to work since this happened, so I could go back to work as a CNA, right? If I can function.
Do you feel like you can?
I feel like I could.
Love it.
I haven't driven since my hospital stay. I haven't left my house alone since that because what if an incident happens and I collapse?
Yeah.
I haven't been alone with my own children since it happened because what if something happens?
Yeah.
I feel like I can go back to my life and not necessarily have that hanging over my head.
I love it.
And it gives freedom to the whole family. Her
It does.
daughter who comes, home from college and has to help take care of her siblings because mom can't do what mom does. Her husband who can't work a full-time job because
He's got to take care
he's
of the
got to
kids.
take care. He's got to be there with their son. I mean, he's 16 and he's special needs and he's huge. He's built like a tank. And Nikki can't handle him alone. And so
Yeah,
all
physically
these,
I couldn't.
we're not just changing her life. We're changing the entire family's life.
That's true.
They get their life back too because they all lost their lives when she lost hers. And they're all going to gain from this. And that's why it's absolutely priceless because the ripple effect is going to be huge. So the special needs lady that she works with in her capacity as CNA, who has been missing her like crazy, she can go see her. And, she's an older woman in her 50s, right? And Nikki works with her. And for Nikki to be able to go spend time with her and feel confident enough to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a huge effect.
Yeah.
And,
Playing soccer with my son. I haven't been able to do that in months.
See, that's a video I'd love to see.
Right? Like, I'm so excited to be able to go and play with my kids.
Well,
she is the
I
ultimate
know.
big kid.
If you, I was gonna say, if you're playing with them anything like you're playing in here, you're gonna have a great time.
Yep.
Well, I won't take up too much more of your time. Reed, do you have anything? No.
So happy for you.
Yeah,
I'm so happy
we're
for
extremely
me.
happy. We've got another day and a half left, so this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to kick your butt.
Good. She needs it.
So, thank you for sharing everything today. I really appreciate it. I know everybody else will love hearing this. And if you ever want to call back in, we could do another meeting with an update, maybe in a month or two.
I would love that.
I plan
just
on
to
bringing her
see-
back to Phoenix in a couple of months.
If we need to.
Set
if we
something
need to.
up with you
Yeah.
guys.
And
She's
so-
going to want us come in anyway to give
She
you a
loves hanging
progress.
out here.
So she
loves
does.
hanging out here.
She told me that Saturday, I want to go back to Dr. Team's office. I'm like, what am I, chopped liver? Oh, my gosh.
That's okay. Well, thank you guys. We are going to kind of tune out now. We are going to, if you guys want to check out any of our other podcasts, I think we're up to, at this point, we'll have 16 or 17 prior to this. We'll get it to you so you can share it with any of your friends and family. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Heck, I think we're on LinkedIn, TikTok. Oh, yeah, TikTok. The girls love it. They were doing a dance earlier for that stuff. So, oh, okay.
That's
nice.
right.
You're
I'll
gonna
be
do
on
one?
there.
Oh, my gosh. She's going to be doing a TikTok dance.
From
you guys,
Puppeteer.
You guys got to go check
Master.
it out. All right. Well, thank you again. This is Dr. Teams, and this is the NeuroRESET podcast. We will see you next time.